Welcome to the 8th lesson in the WordPress Widgets Front to Back course. In this particular lesson, we're going to be stubbing out our widget based on the WordPress Widget API. We'll be using the class and function examples that we used in the last screencast, so if you haven't watched it, go review lesson 7 and then join me back here. Now, at this point, let's go ahead and make sure our environment's set up. This includes making sure that MAMP is running so that we have a web server and a database. This makes sure that we can access the WordPress installation from our browser. This ensures that CodeKit is running, which we've used in a previous lesson, and that we have Coda running so that we're able to begin development on our widget. At this point in development, our plugin directory should have the following structure. Under the plugins directory, we should have a front to back directory. We should then have a CSS directory with a subdirectory of less, and then 2 empty less files, one named admin, one named widget. There should be a JavaScript directory, abbreviated as JS, and a subdirectory named dev with 2 empty JavaScript files, admin.js and widget.js. Finally, there should also be a plugin.php file in the root of the directory. Now, at this point, even though we have our plugin stubbed out, if you navigate to the installed plugins under the plugins menu in the WordPress dashboard, you'll notice that only Akismet and Hello Dolly show up. The first thing that we want to do is go ahead and begin stubbing out the plugin. At the time of this screencast, the only thing required to open a PHP file is an opening PHP tag, as you see on your screen. There's no longer a need to include the terminating PHP tag. Now let's go ahead and begin defining our class exactly as we saw in the previous lesson, except in this time, we'll actually give the class a name. I'm going to call mine class front to back, and remember that it must extend the WP widget class. And although this isn't required right now, I'm going to go ahead and make a call to add action. It goes to the widgets init action, and then we need to create our anonymous function. Remember that when you register your widget, you need to use the name of the class definition that you've given, not the myWidget definition that we saw in the last example. At this point, let's go ahead and save our work, hop over to the browser, and refresh. Permitting everything's okay, the screen should look exactly as it did before. Next, let's go ahead and add our constructor. This is a simple matter of doing a construct function, and then we'll add our form function. To do this, recall that the form function accepts an instance argument. Next, we'll do our update function, and recall that it takes in the new instance as well as the old instance. And finally, we'll do our widget function. This accepts an arguments array and the current instance of the widget. At this point, we've defined everything that we need to have a working widget, even though we've given no functionality. So let's open up our browser and return to the plugins page. Click on refresh, and you'll notice that the widget isn't appearing in the plugins menu. This is because there's still a little bit of work to do. In the next series of screencasts, we're going to work line by line through the header definition and each of the functions, as well as beginning to introduce JavaScript, JSLint, and some other tools. Even though the widget isn't appearing in the plugins menu here, we have a foundation off of which we can begin to iteratively develop our widget. So, starting with the next series of screencasts, we're going to do just that. This has been a short screencast, so at this point, I recommend saving your work and moving ahead to the next lesson quickly, as we'll begin to see how to hook into the WordPress API so that our widget is now accessible from the plugins menu. I'll see you in the next screencast.